But this morning we want to say, God, fix my life. And then even if, and I'm going to play a video for you in just a few moments. 2 Corinthians chapter number 1 says, for we do not want you to be unaware, brethren, of our affliction, which came to us in Asia, that we were burdened excessively beyond our strength, so that we despaired even of life. Indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves, so that we would not trust in ourselves, but in God, who raises the dead, who delivered us from so great a peril of death, and will deliver us, he on whom we have set our hope, and he will deliver us. I don't believe there's probably a week that goes by, definitely not a month that goes by, that we are not saying, God, fix my problems. God, solve my problems. Because problems and trials are part of life, and for the most part, majority of the time, they're them nagging problems and trials that come up each and every week, each and every day. And there are times to where we hit those valleys that last for a month, and sometimes we hit those valleys that last for an indefinite period of time, and then sometimes we really hit the bottom of the barrel, darkness, and God, when is it going to end? Is it ever going to be over? And so we're always looking to God, saying, God, fix my problems, solve these issues I got, fix these circumstances, heal these relationships, heal my body, provide for me, God, come through for me, God. I believe in you, God. I believe you can do it. God, fix my problems. But let me ask you this morning, we want to go a step beyond that today in a deeper way of God doing something so much deeper in your life. Are you able to say today, God, even if you don't solve my problems and fix my circumstances and heal my relationships and heal my body, God, even if you don't provide the way I think you should provide, can you say today, my hope is still in you, God? Can you say today, God, I will trust in you no matter what, that it is well with my soul, and God, no matter how this turns out, whether it's a problem, a circumstance, a relationship, a health issue, that God, I'm going to trust in you, and my hope is in you and you alone, God. We're going to play this video clip. Just take these next 3 or 4 minutes to soak these words in to see if this can be the prayer of your heart today.
They say sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. And right now I'm losing bad. I've stood on this stage night after night, reminding the broken it'll be alright. But right now, oh, right now I just can't. It's easy to sing when there's nothing to bring me down. But what will I say when I'm held to the flame like I am right now? I know They say it only takes a little faith to move a mountain. Well, good thing, a little faith is all I have right now. God, when you choose to leave mountains unmovable, oh, give me the strength to be able to sing. It is well with my soul. I know you're able and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. I know the sorrow and I know the hurt would all go away if you just say the word. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. You've been faithful, you've been good all of my days. Jesus, I will cling to you, come what may, 'cause I know you're able, I know you can. I know you're able, and I know you can save through the fire with your mighty hand. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. I know the sorrow, I know the hurt would all go away if you just say the word. But even if you don't, my hope is you alone. It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul.
Amen. Says, you've been faithful, God. You've been good. You've been good all of my days. And he says, I will cling to you come what may. My hope is in you alone, God. It is well with my soul. You know, it's amazing the power that music has and the power that a song can have in your life, especially when you're in the midst of whatever it is that's going on in your life, and that song just ministers to you in a way that you can relate to because you're there, you're living it, you're in the trenches, and God can speak in it and through it. And let's just be honest, life can get overwhelming sometimes. I think it got a little overwhelming in here this morning, but that's not really overwhelming. When the enemy's trying to come against us with all kind of technical things, that's just a glitch in life. But life can be overwhelming. You can get to where you are in great despair, as Paul was talking about. The pain and the heartache can be so intense, and it can be so overwhelming. It can feel like death. It can feel like if you're not dying, that you're gonna die and you're being suffocated just 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time. Life can be discouraging. Life can be full of darkness. And life can have its most difficult moments. I know when this song first came out, my daughter actually sent it to me, Whitney, because she lived with us for about 7 months. And actually, you know, God used my daughter to minister to me in a very difficult time in my life, and she was there, and she heard this song, and she sent it to me, and it was just exactly what I needed at that moment, because I just told her, that God was doing something in my life that went so far beyond God fixed my life. God solved this problem or solved that problem. I realized that after 14 months, God wasn't going to necessarily do that. He was trying to do something that I wasn't recognizing. He was trying to do something in my heart and in my life. He was trying to do something in me, and I was learning it the hard way. Sometimes that journey in life can be hard, and we have to learn things the hard way. And I'm going to share with you a few things this morning of my struggles, with not pulling the curtain all the way back, but just to help you to be able to understand the even if moments in life. And I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, there's some people here today that are just like I was for all those months. You're tuned into God. You're connected to God. You're lined up with God. Your faith is in God, and you're praying to God, and you're praying to God day after day, week after week, month after month, and saying and begging God to fix your life, to solve your problems, to heal your body, to heal relationships, to provide something supernaturally in your circumstances that you so desperately need. But the days go by, and the weeks go by, and sometimes the months go by, and there's nothing from heaven but silence. And sometimes when you think it can't get any worse, it gets worse. It just keeps getting worse. And I've told people time and time again, sometimes the best thing that can happen during that day is for me to go to bed. For that day to end and to wake up the next day with a new outlook and a new view and a new approach. So we go to God. God, where are you, God? Maybe you're like that today. Maybe you've been like that before. Where are you, God? God, I believe in you, God. I believe your word. I believe nothing is impossible with you, God. My faith is rooted in you, God, and I'm begging you, God, to come through in these areas of my life. But our focus, now get this, don't miss this. Our focus, even though we're connected to God, is on everything out here. It's on our problems, our relationships. It's on our money. It's on our children and trying to raise them. It's on our job. What should we do? Should we leave? Maybe we lost our job. And everything is out here. And God, fix it, fix it, fix it, solve it. God, lift me up, help me. And the focus is not here on the inside. It's so easy to be connected to God and in tune with God, and to be so focused with God on things that are out here that we lose sight of what God might want to do in here. If you don't get anything else, you need to get this today. God is more interested in shaping your character than He is in answering your prayers. If He is shaping your character, He's probably not going to answer those prayers you've been praying that are all focused out here on the things that you think you want or need in your life. Because He wants to be that part in your heart and in your life. And He'll go straight beyond anything that would ever feel comfortable in your life, to be able to do something in your character. And sometimes God does not change your situation, but He changes your heart. You see, I would like to always be like those 3 Hebrew children that said, I know our God is able to deliver us from this fire, but even if He don't, Nebuchadnezzar, let it be known to you that we will not bow, that we will not worship, that we will let God's will be done. And if He doesn't deliver us from that fire, it's not because He can't deliver us from that fire, and we will serve Him and we will worship Him alone. I would like to always have that mindset, wouldn't you? Things would probably go a whole lot better in life if we were there. Let's look 4 things this morning. Number 1, you put this in your personal pronoun, my struggling pain. I'm going to talk to you about some of my struggling pain that lasted for all those months. And what I want to do is I want to go back, and that's the reason why I think it's so important for you to journal some of your stuff, even if you don't journal every day or write a diary. I mean, I don't do every day and don't write a diary every day, but I do journal and journal my thoughts and journal my prayers to a certain extent. And during this time, I did a lot of journaling because writing is therapy. Writing is allowing those feelings that you are feeling on the inside for you to express them, to be able to write them on paper. And there's something powerful about doing that, for you to be able to look at and to be able to reflect on, and to be able to now be able to reflect back on it, to be able to see exactly where I was at in my mind, spiritually, emotionally, and all of those things that I was battling and all those things that I was dealing with. You know, sometimes in life you can have a major crisis, and then you can have many other major crises that are going on at the same time that the major crisis is going on, and it just seems like everything is crumbling all around you, and you're begging God and you're pleading with God and you're connected to God saying, God, please, please, please. And sometimes it's just silent because God is using the pain to be able to do something that we cannot see at that particular moment. Let me just give you some of these words. What I done yesterday is I just went through my journal, and these are just some of the words I used without giving you what it is that I was dealing with. It's not so much what it was as where I was at and what God wanted to do. I used the word miserable, nightmare, burdened, stressed, shattered, haunted, a failure, a loser, spinning out of control, broken, crushed, defeated, filled with guilt, paralyzed by fear, weeping and mourning, overwhelmed, agony, painful, hopeless pit, disarray, strangled, choked, almost dying but still living. You ever felt like that? You ever felt like life had you around the neck, and every day life was squeezing you and squeezing you to where you almost died, and you maybe even wanted to die, but you didn't die. Just being choked, the pressure, the intensity. I wrote, give me a crumb, God. A crumb. I mean, give me something, God, a crumb, just a speck. I'm weak on my knees. I'm begging you, God. Lonely, locked in a dark dungeon, hurting and bleeding. I wrote one journal that I sent to my sister. She's the only one I sent it to. And the title of the journey was The Misery of My Life. And it was just me expressing my life and where I was and what was going on. And literally you could read it and you'd think I was about to jump into the Grand Canyon. But just the intensity of the pain and darkness. Some of you have been there. Some of you have been there in the midst of tragedy, of a great loss, a loss of a loved one, or something tragic that happened in your life, or as Carol was talking about earlier, her divorce, and just different major things that you can go through in your life that can bring you to this place to where you're struggling in the midst of your pain. You're wondering where God is. You feel like you're connected to God. You feel like you have addressed those things in your life, but nothing is changing. Number two, my selfish perspective. Any of you that were here during last year knows I spent several times during the year, because you tend to, especially when you don't necessarily sit down and plan out your whole year, you'll find yourself preaching on things that you're dealing with in your life because that's where your focus is at. And a lot last year I preached on trials and difficulties, and there's never a time that you can preach on that it doesn't apply, because everybody's always going through something, and everybody's heart is always broken in some way and has some kind of heartache in it. But I realized after months, I'm talking like well over a year, that my perspective that I had been praying from was a selfish perspective, and I just didn't get it because it wasn't like I was praying for anything that wasn't the will of God. Whatever I was praying for, I could back it up in the Bible that it was the will of God. God, this is what you want. This is what I know you want in my life, and this is what I know you said that you would do. But my perspective was still selfish because it was all about me. It was all about what I wanted God to do. It was all about how I wanted Him to fix this and solve this and put this in order and do all of these things. And through this process of pain and despair and darkness, I realized that, or God turned the light bulb on, that my perspective was selfish because it was all about what I wanted God to do out here. Never thinking that there was still something here that God was interested in reshaping and resurrecting and working on. And it's so easy to focus on us. Some of you might be there right now. You're focused on you, and you feel like you're connected to God, and you've been coming, and you feel like your faith is in God, and you feel like that what you're praying is what God wants you to pray, but it's all about what you're feeling and all about what you're doing. It's all about your struggles and your deliverance. But what about the God that you love and serve? What does He see in you? Maybe He wants to do something in you before He ever does anything out here. And if He does anything out here, then you'll miss the chance of Him doing what He wants to do in there. So if you've been praying for quite some time about something that you know that would be in the will of God, and heaven has been silent and silent and silent, turn your focus to God and say, God, what is it here that you're wanting to do? because these moments are life-changing, altering moments in our lives. These things don't come with every trial, but you'll go through stages and seasons in your life to where you will come to those defining moments. Maybe it comes through a health crisis coming your way. Maybe it even comes through boneheaded decisions that we make sometimes that causes a huge disruption. And God can take those things that we didn't do right, that came at us that we didn't see coming, and turn them in such a way that it's going to be a life-altering moment in your life, to where God is going to do something, and it's going to be a building block for your life. And you might not even get the miracle that you prayed for, but God is going to be the God that you never thought your God could be. And He's going to take you from where you're at to where He wants you to go. And you're going to be better equipped to go there than you've ever been before. You know, sometimes I go to God and it's like, you know, like the song was saying, you know, you get up on the stage just like he was singing, and you're talking about how God can fix a broken life. I can't tell you how many times on a Sunday I'm standing up here and talking about broken lives and darkness and distress and you know, how God can heal your broken heart and God can work miracles. And so many messages we looked at during the year was about this time tomorrow. God is going to show up. God's going to work a miracle. And we just think sometimes as we pray and as we seek God, that God's just going to wave this magic wand and He's going to do His thing, and you're going to wake up the next morning and everything is just going to be perfect. But God reminded me of John 12:24. John 12:24 says, I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. The man who loves his life will lose it, while the man who hates his life in this world will keep it for eternal life. God didn't want to choke me physically and take my life, but spiritually, He had His hands around me spiritually, suffocating me to the point to where I would look to Him and realize that the first thing that needed to happen is I needed to die. I needed to die. Not die physically. I needed to die spiritually. The hardest death to die is the spiritual death. Because the only way you can die the spiritual death is the flesh has to be put to death. Your wants and your desires and everything that you've ever dreamed of and your plans and your future and everything, you're saying, God, it's all nothing if I'm not what I need to be with you. So there's death, because the selfish perspective is, you know, God, I'm broken. I've admitted, some of you are there today, you've admitted what you've done wrong to others. You've addressed certain things in your life. You've confessed them. You've faced them. You've prayed, God, heal me, heal my life. And this is where I really began to see that this crisis was going to be different than other crises in my life because I realized that I had to take the focus off of God, fix, solve, and focus on my heart, and focus on my character, and focus on, God, what you want to do in here. A very difficult part of the journey because God wanted to do an inside job, not an outside job. He wanted to resurrect something on the inside. I want to fix your heart, Jeff. I don't want to solve your problems. I want to fix your heart. I want to take your heart and I want to do some surgery there. I want to cut some stuff out and I want to put some stuff in there. Maybe I will solve some things in your life. Maybe I won't. But Jeff, I want you to get, that's the reason why Whitney sent me the song, is because we had talked about it so much, is that God wanted to get me to a point to where I could say, it is well with my soul, even if, God, you do nothing, solve nothing, because I was dying. I'm going to tell you, I was dying. How I pastored the church today, I don't even know. But it was therapy because it was pushing me to the Word. And to, even though I was standing and I was talking about struggles and pain, and I didn't even know how to fix my own struggles and my own pain, but God in the midst of that was using that, I believe, for somebody else, but also for me. Because I was waking up every day and I was miserable every day. Every day in my mind, it was just like I was just going crazy. I was just like, God, I don't understand. And I just felt like I was just being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and I just wanted to be rescued. God, rescue me. Rescue me. That goes on day after day after day, and that brings us to number 3, my shaping process, or your shaping process. This is where it gets real. You have to be, you remember I preached a message and it was one of the turning points during my year, is you have to be okay with your life not being okay. You have to be okay with your life, your circumstances not being okay. To put it another way, you have to be okay with you and God. Even if other people in your life that you want to be okay with you and God are not okay with you and God, you have to be okay with things not being okay with people who are not okay with you and God. Because you know what? You can't make somebody else want what you want. You can't make somebody else help in a certain situation, or you can't take a situation and maneuver it to the way you want it. You just can't. And sometimes there's some things in our lives that God does, and He says, okay, this is going to be a moment where you have to be okay with me and you, God. And I have to have peace that comes from God that fills my soul, so that I won't wake up every day with my hair turning grayer and grayer, miserable, down in a dungeon, locked in a pit, full of agony and hurt. And God, where are you? You only live that way for so long. By faith, you have to accept that things could be in your life that you may not understand. You may not like how everything is, but you know that God is in control and that you are where you need to be with God. You may not understand it. You may not understand the circumstance. You may not understand the valley. You may not understand the difficulty. But God brings you to a point, even in the things that you can't understand, and even in the things that you might not necessarily like, He brings you to a point where you can accept them being the way that they are because of what He gives you in the midst of it. Four things that God used in my life during this time. Number one, very simple. Be still. I tell people all the time. I told several this morning, y'all just need to hug. Just give each other a hug. Kiss. Somebody will be going on about something and going on about something, complaining about something, and I'll say, come here, just give me a hug. Give me a hug. And that kind of like takes the edge off sometimes, because sometimes we just don't learn how to just to be still. To be still means more than to be still physically. It means to calm down. It means to settle down. In the spiritual realm, it means to sit back, and it means to totally focus on God, and it means to reflect on Him. And sometimes you just have to renew, and sometimes you have to reset. And sometimes you have to reset multiple times during the day. But there has to be that moment in your life to where you're still. I like to be alone and to be still sometimes as I'm walking and doing different things, of just nobody with me, but just a time for me to reflect and a time for me to do the second thing, which is not only be still, but be silent. Be silent is number two. Sometimes after you've prayed for 14 or 15 months for God to fix something, and He's not fixing something, He says, just shut up. Be silent and listen. Listen. See, silence is a gift to where sometimes we haven't really learned the value of it. There's a great value, because I take that New Testament verse in the book of Isaiah to where it says God wants to do something new. You know, God's always wanting to do something new in your life and in my life. He's always wanting to do something new. Not necessarily that He wants to get rid of the old, but He's always wanted to take us to new places, work in new areas, and use us in a greater way, and take us to a place that we've never been before. And sometimes we just need to be still. We just need to be focused on God, and we just need to say, God, speak. Speak to my heart. Speak into my spirit. And Lord, just tell me what it is that I need to hear. Just be silent. And I don't know how your moment will come. I don't know how it will be. How God will speak to you and what way He will speak to you. But I had been detached emotionally from my situation. When I say detached emotionally, is I think that I had addressed spiritually my focus with God, and spiritually what I needed to address in my heart with God and in my heart with others, but emotionally I wasn't where I needed to be, so I was resistant to hearing what God wanted me to hear so I could receive it. You see, let me back up. Emotionally, there's some things in your life you can't handle at the present moment. Of being able to say you're okay with not being okay. because that's really not only so spiritual, it is so emotional. And sometimes emotionally, we are not where we need to be able to handle saying, I'm going to take my hands off of this and I'm going to totally focus on God, and it's going to be okay for it not to be okay so that I can be okay. I don't know if you're getting that or not. You have to be okay with something in your life. Let me put it another way. You have to be okay with something in your life being dead, something in your life not coming back to life, something in your life, whether it's a relationship or whether it was a job or whether it's a health crisis. You have to be spiritually and emotionally okay with saying that will never be okay in my life again. For God to give you what you need in that moment. Emotionally, that is a tough hurdle to overcome. That was my struggle during that year, was emotionally. It wasn't spiritually, it was emotionally. To be able to handle the process and to be able to handle and to accept whatever truth there that I needed to accept, because you know why I wasn't there emotionally, and you know why you might not be there emotionally, because you're still trying to exert control of the situation. Even if you're not being forceful with it, you're still trying to fix it. You're still trying to put your hands on it. You're still trying to manipulate it and of it going whichever way you want it to be, whichever way you want it to go. But there are going to be some things in your life to where you're going to have to grieve yourself to death. And you're going to have to let it hurt, and you're going to have to let it bleed so that it can heal, so that you can let it go. Because if not, it will suffocate the life out of you. Did you get that again? You got to let it hurt. You got to let it bleed so that it can heal, so that you can let go and live life again. I've lost, or at least it feels like, sometimes when you have those things come into your life, you feel like you've just lost 16, 17 months of your life because you didn't live. You were hurting so bad, you couldn't live. You couldn't feel life. You couldn't experience life. You wanted something to be different, and it wasn't different. And whatever it is that God is doing in your life, if you don't come to that point to where you can accept some things in your life of just being what they are because you can't control the situation or you can't control somebody else, the only thing you can do is be okay with you and God so that you can live life again, so that you can be content again, so that you can be focused again. Third of all, you got to be strengthened. Every day you got to be strengthened. God, be there for me today. Give me your grace. And then D, you got to be strong. You'll never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you've got. You'll never know how strong you are until that's your only choice. If there was another choice, sometimes we'd pick another choice. But sometimes there's nothing else to do other than we just got to be strong. We just got to get up and we just got to just be strong. And we just got to put one foot in front of the other. The reason why I said what's her name? Yana. That woman is the most anointed woman on TV I've ever watched in my life. those of you that haven't watched her show on I don't know if it's on Netflix, if some of you doesn't have cable, but you're talking about a spiritual coach and a spiritual anointed woman that can take a situation, whether it is a personal situation or she's dealt with a lot of people coming out of prison and dealt with a lot of couples. I'm telling you what, that woman has a gift of being able to take a situation and cut straight to the core. I mean, I was watching her one night, and that was my light bulb moment. That was when God told me what I needed to hear through her. And I loved it because I could go back and I could watch it. You know, because you could like go on the thing and rewatch it and hear it again and hear it again. And I heard some things that night I didn't want to hear. I heard some things about myself that I didn't want to hear. I had to voice some things about myself to other people that I didn't want to voice. But if I wanted to really have that peace that passes all understanding, I had to say it. I had to verbalize it. And she doesn't cut to the chase. I mean, she'll just tell you, you've abused this. You're abusive. You're abusive. And you might think you ain't never said a negative word in your life. You ain't done A, B, C, and D. But there are certain things and certain actions in your heart and in your life that make you abusive, even when you think you haven't been abusive. And God used her that night. And I was able to take some things, and I was able to address some things, and able to communicate some things, and it set me free. And since that day, I've had peace. There's still a lot of things in my life that's broke. But even if, my hope is in you, God. See, sometimes your greatest setbacks can become your greatest set-ups. Some of you have been through some tragic circumstances, very difficult things. You might wonder, how is God ever going to use that in my life? Carol was telling me this morning that she's ministered to more people about divorce than she ever could have imagined. She was like thinking when she was going through it, it was the struggle of her life. And since God brought healing, she has used it to minister to so many different people. I want to close this morning with another video, kind of to put the toppings on. I'm not going to say anything after, but I want you to watch this, and I want you to see this one that you're going to see perform was on America's Most Talented. He's auditioning, and it doesn't show on the video, but he sings a song, and the judges are not impressed. They're about to dismiss him, and they get to having a conversation with him, and he talks about a tragic situation that happened in his life with his brother dying when he was a baby, and he had written a song about it, and the whole thing becomes the greatest tragedy and the greatest event that happened in his life, negative, becomes the greatest setup. And it literally propels him to America's Got Talent, which has then propelled him on to write songs and to sing songs. And you'll hear his first song, he's got a little accent, but if you'll follow it on YouTube later today, you'll see that he sings so much different than even this. But we'll close with this video. Turn your attention. It's a few minutes long.
What brought you here, Christian?
I've been singing, on and off as a little child, but a couple of years back, went to an Ed Sheeran gig.
Yeah.
I saw him just standing there on the stage, just with his guitar. I just wanted to be that. I wanted to be him and do what he's doing.
But with him, it's all about the songs, you know that?
I mean, I write songs myself, so...
Can we hear one of your songs?
You can, yeah. I've got I've got a song I wrote for my brother, who passed away when I was only young. And it's just a song that, you know, means everything to me, and only my mum's ever heard it, so...
Do you want to perform it?
I can do. I feel like I'm ready.
It's entirely your choice, Christian.
I feel like I'm ready to
You
perform
sure?
it. Yeah.
All right, take your time.
You good? Yeah.
I would do anything just to be 2 years old again. Imagine what we could have done. Imagine what we could have been. Making a paper planes till the sun goes down. I'll be holding your hand as you're squeezing onto mine. Hold on tight, wish I never let go. Remember building castles out of old Lego, just to knock them down. See, it's changed now, you're not around. I'm not the same, but I hope you're proud. I wish your little face was still around, with that cheesy smile and them little chubby cheeks. Imagine all the mischief we get up to. Imagine us tag team 1+2. Imagine all the good, bad, sad and happy times. Imagine all the time out, naughty step crimes. Stay up late, watch TV we couldn't watch. We go to school, break the rules, play hopscotch and climb trees, chase bees just to act tough. And fight over brother stuff. And sneak out late, play football till the sun goes. My thunder buddy, I will keep you safe as you doze. Off to sleep, bed bugs and counting sheep. Off to sleep, night, night, baby brother sleep. Until we meet again, stay safe my friend. And I will keep you in my thoughts till the very end. My little Teletubby in the sky with a smile. My little thunder buddy, I will see you in a while. Miss you like the sun on a rainy day, when the stars come out to play. Oh, I miss you, and I miss you, and I want to be with you, my friend. I just wish we could be two again. Thank you.
Ooh. Thank you for sharing that with us, Christian. Nick?
Honestly, Christian, on the first song, I didn't know if I got you. And then you wrote that second song, and I was right there all the way, and you got me. So thank you for that.
Louis?
Yeah, Christian, it was a very honest audition. I think you bared yourself.
Yeah, very beautiful song. Very beautiful. I like you a lot. You're very pure in what you do. It has a great charm to it.
Thank you.
You know what, Christian? It was very brave to share that song with us because it is so personal. I don't know how you did that, but I think it was important that you did do it, actually, because it told me and us who you were as an artist and actually as a person. And you've got a real talent. I think you're great with lyrics.
Yeah.
And I like you. Louis?
Christian, I'm saying yes.
Sharon?
It's a yes from me.
Nick?
I'm so happy to say yes.
Christian? Guess what? You got 4 yeses.
Oh my God.
Glad you did.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Come on. You're gonna get attacked. He did great. Where's Mum and Dad? Mum, Dad. It's beautiful. You should be very proud.
Congratulations.
Well done, guys. Nice to meet you. Take care, kids. Nice to meet you. It was real. he was real.
Yeah.
Actually, really good.
Could be thinking, this present moment, how in the world could something you're going through right now ever be a stepping block to somewhere God wants to take you? That's perfect evidence of a desire for a brother to sing, him writing a song about his brother, and touching the hearts of the judges. It touched my heart too, I'm sure it did yours. If you'll follow even that link today on YouTube, you'll be touched even more. But it's just incredible. Don't ever put a limit on God. He can do what you can never imagine. Lord, we give this time to you.